Welcome to the Engineering Influence Podcast from the American Council of Engineering Companies. And this week we are welcoming in our new class of XCOM, our Executive Committee volunteers. And included in that, we have our incoming NACCE President, Casey Anderson with ACEC Tennessee. Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, thanks for being on.
So exciting.
I know, right? Podcast. I've been
Sure.
trying to get you
It's
on.
my first one.
I know. I've been trying to get you on, and you,
I know.
you run away.
Run away every time.
I'm
trapped here.
I interviewed you on EEA judging. That's what I did. It wasn't a podcast.
Yeah,
It was
I
a
think
couple
that's
years
right.
ago, and it was EEA.
I think that's right, and you didn't say podcast, which
No,
made me think,
which it
okay,
wasn't.
I can do that.
It wasn't. No, I finally got you on the podcast.
I advertise your podcast
I know.
spot.
Well, I appreciate it. You know.
Frequent, sometimes listener,
Well, that's great. I'll
first
take
time
it.
guest,
I'll defer you.
first time caller.
Yeah, first time caller.
Yeah.
Frequent listener, first time caller.
Sure.
So, Casey, you're coming in as incoming NACCE president.
Yes.
Adam Jones, ACEC South Carolina, right now is our current NACCE president. For those out there listening and watching who were like, "What's NACCE and how does it interact with ACEC?" Explain, number one, kind of your role at the state level and kind of how NACCE kind of works.
Sure. NACCE is National Association of, I don't know, Engineering Company Executives. That's right. So NAECE. We are essentially the CEOs of the member organizations underneath the Federation of ACEC National. So there are, 51 of us?
51.
Linda is a member of NACCE because she is also one of us. And we get together on a regular basis. We have a couple of meetings in person every year, and then we're together. I feel like you're with us at least once a month. We do.
Yeah.
We had one yesterday. We had we're all about the Zoom since COVID, and so we're together a lot.
Yeah.
I would say through COVID, we were probably twice a week.
COVID, we were like, it went from because I came in right at the beginning of COVID, and my understanding was it wasn't we didn't talk as much, and then COVID
And
was
then
like
all of a sudden,
all the time.
right.
We were
And
talking.
honestly, I think we saw it certainly, I am the executive director for ACC Tennessee. We saw tremendous growth since COVID. And I think that can be attributed to, we were on it. We were talking to our members every day. We were, we really sort of helped each other through that. But some of that was that great communication that I just think Linda's done such a great job of setting up this circle of trust, really, between national and the MOs. We really are, we don't always agree on everything, but we talk things through and we don't. And
we're a family.
we're a family, right.
Yeah.
And I think certainly all of the states are so different. I live in a super majority Republican state. There are a lot of states that come to Nashville for their summer meetings, for example, and they'll ask me to come speak, and I'm like, "What do you want me to talk about?"
Yeah.
We'll talk about politics. I'm like, ours we don't have anything. Like, your people might be fascinated to hear about ours, but they're really nothing.
Yeah.
Certainly nothing like the sort of sliver of difference in the 50-50 of Washington.
Yeah,
we are,
exactly.
90-10 a little bit. So it's been interesting. But we also can all rally around together. We've got an issue in Indiana right now, and Beth reached out to sort of 10 of us that have licensure issues on occasion, and we kind of can nip stuff in the bud, and we all learn from each other, and we all handle things differently in our states, but we really depend on each other to sort of figure it out.
And then it's up to us to provide you with the support from the federal
100%.
level for you to do what you need to do, because one of the things about NACCE is that Tennessee, New York, California, those are states that have teams of people, or they have multiple. Then you have some MOs who are just a part-time person who's actually working on
And
with
that's
it,
it.
and that's it.
Right.
And they only have a certain number of hours a day that they can actually focus on ACEC.
That's right. We're all different. I'm full-time ACEC. I've got two people who are one end growing into two full-time right now, and we all handle it differently. Right?
Yeah.
It just depends on the needs of the state. For us, I'm also our lobbyist in Tennessee, and so I spend a lot of time talking to the folks up here on our lobby team. Some states are that way. Some states have contract lobbyists. So all of us handle it differently, but we're all essentially doing the same roles.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? We just all sort of divvy those up differently.
Coming in, I mean, Adam's done a great job, I think, of being a good communicator. I think he's very
phenomenal.
active. How do you want to extend on that? What do you want to do in your term as NACI president to, help strengthen, the federation? And what do you want ACC National to be doing more?
That's interesting. One of the things that I think NACI does really well is that I'm up here for National XCOM. We have a NACI XCOM.
Yeah.
We are talking to each other all day, every day. I mean, if something comes up that we hear about from any of the others, it immediately goes to this text chain. We talk about it back and forth. So none of us who sit in the role Adam's in right now, it's not really in a vacuum.
Yeah.
He's sort of the voice, but he comes back and talks to all of us about it. And so it does give you this kind of 4-year span of information. So Chris Klein is still involved in all of those sort of batting around of decisions, and it allows for some continuity there.
Yeah.
And what's really fun is when somebody new comes in. We had 2 new people this week, two new state execs this week, and to be able to say to them, we're all here.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't get one of us, call a different one. If it's an emergency, otherwise we'll call you back. But it really is a good group. I think that the relationship that we have with National is super important, and I think just for us to know all of you so well is important. There's a lot of stuff that you're doing specifically, with the roadshow and with all of the rest of that, is really great. I think we've got great leadership that represents NACI across the board. We've got people on every committee. We've got people who are working with. I'm on the Research Institute board right now, but Adam is rolling back on, which is going to be phenomenal to have some continuity there. We've got people in the trust, to be able to report out and sort of have those liaisons who are really committed to those places, I think is important.
I mean, I think when you look at ACC and a lot of members who may not be as engaged or involved, it really is a complex organization,
It is.
and there's so much to it. And having members of NACI involved in all those different parts gives a greater understanding of how everything operates and pulls together.
It is. And I think to have someone representing all of the MOs in every little aspect of things, the MO, we all function differently, but we still function as a team.
Yeah.
And to have somebody representing, hey, slow your roll on that a little bit. Let's go back and see how that's going to pan out.
Yeah.
Because really, what we are a little bit closer to the members than
Absolutely.
You all are.
Oh yeah. We I mean, there's only so much. I mean, we talk to, a select kind of group that have the federal people in D.C. We hear from the states. We try to talk to the states as much as possible. But you guys are ground level.
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten 5 texts this morning about one of President Trump's executive orders.
Which one? The one that halting all grant funding.
That one.
And,
that one. I've had some questions about that this morning, but they're going to reach out to us, and then we deliver. We can all sort of. I can get information to people pretty quickly, and there's some things when we were dealing with R&D. I know specifically in my state who that affects and how, and as do the rest of us, right? And so we're not just sort of broadcasting everything. We can kind of bring that message home to the right people.
Yeah. And it helps us to be able to identify. I mean, we can talk about this stuff all day long, but it's so much better to get a member firm that's actually living through it, and being able to go and say, "Hey, can you talk about this?" and getting them either to Hill or do a video or a podcast or something to talk about it.
We need them talking about it.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. I mean, that's getting more of those frontline engineer CEOs or the people who are seeing it and living it to talk about their experiences, because that will translate into action.
Totally.
A constituent talking to their member of Congress or their state legislature, that's what drives it, not, just what we were doing up here.
People ask me all the time, like, what is my job? What do you do? You're not an engineer. How do you know what you're talking about? I feel like my job is to take their words, which often are very in the weeds and technical, and high level, and take it up to a high level where I can translate it to legislators.
We're translators. We're translators from tech speak into the political speak.
Yeah, and the legislators I deal with every day are some are lawyers, but some are truck drivers, some are farmers, they're all over the board.
Exactly.
And they're great people and great friends. Every one of them I have a great relationship with, but always different, right? And I can't go in and if I don't understand what our members are saying, they're not going to understand it either. And so we are translators. And sometimes it's making sure we've got the right experience to talk about a specific issue. Yeah. Like when I do a day on the Hill in Tennessee, I bring sort of a a very eclectic group of engineers together to go sit down with each legislator.
Yeah.
We'll do 120 visits in a day, but you kind of need a water person, a transportation person, a geotech,
Yeah.
a structural. You need all of those pieces in place for them to really get a understanding of what they're doing.
Absolutely.
But if I'm talking to somebody on a transportation committee, I want a transportation engineer there. They're never going to see my environmental bills,
Exactly.
that kind
and
of
that's
stuff.
and that's the thing. It's the same thing in DC. It's you have a lot of times you're meeting with staff, right?
Right,
And
right,
they don't know. They're handling a specific issue area, but they don't really have exposure to
Right.
what the industry is. And that's we're hoping with the roadshow, and plug that. We're scheduling for 2025. So if you got a project, tell us.
Bring it to Jeff.
So it can come, especially
And bring it to your MO.
and bring it to your
Your
MO.
MO,
Yeah,
right,
we'll
right.
scale it and we'll make it as easy as possible for you to hold an event. But holding an event and getting those people there and showing them, you see, this is
Yeah.
what we're talking about here. This bridge, this overpass to this building.
And they
this
know
hospital.
the lawmakers, whether they're local, state, national, they know the good the projects that make a difference in their communities.
Exactly.
They understand that. They drive it every day or see it every day, or maybe funded it. And to have them understand, I'm the person who did that.
Yeah, exactly. And be able
I
to-
designed that.
And take
That's cool.
It
Take
is really
credit
cool.
for it.
Yeah.
If you've got a program, if you've got something that's good enough for the road show, make sure it's in EEA too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the other thing, because I mean that's another significant a way to amplify what you're doing at the state level, and then put it in for the national program.
Such a good opportunity.
Because it helps you number one, business development, because you're an
Sure.
award-winning firm.
I love that.
And then next is we federal legislators, we talk to them about EEA. They know the
time.
winners in their districts, and it's a great way of getting politically active without worrying about taking time out of your day to
Sure.
lobby. Or
And the ones we have at the state level, the ones that our winners can go to national, but the ones that just win an award at the state level and aren't necessarily eligible for national, we still take those out.
Yeah,
those are still
absolutely.
on the road. And
Exactly.
it's just, and you're honoring as from a workforce development standpoint. A lot of times it's young engineers
Yeah.
who were involved in a project, and maybe it's the first time that they've been recognized for something that cool. And
We've
it's
heard
a big
that.
deal.
We heard that with the roadshow. We had engineers coming and saying, "This is the first time in my career that somebody's actually
Yeah.
said thank you."
They
Or
love it.
Yeah, they do. So it's
My
it's
first year at ACC was, I guess, 10 years ago. We had a young engineer. He's now the chair, one of my chairs of my EEA.
Yeah.
But he was a young engineer. It was my third day of work or something. I came up and we went to EEA National.
Yeah.
He sat next to me and his eyes were just big, and he watched it and he said, and they had won, and a honor,
Yeah.
national recognition.
Yes.
And they flashed the pictures on the screen, and his project was up, and then the 9/11 project that was a study on why the towers fell. And he said, I lost to America. And I was like, he was so proud of that.
Yeah,
like,
no,
I'm
that's
in the
great.
same sentence
Yeah.
for my,
that's
bus
what-
depot in Memphis, Tennessee, as
Yeah.
the Twin Towers. Like,
Yeah.
that was, for him, was just such a powerful minute, and he's been on my EEA committee since.
There you go. I mean, it doesn't take much to get you hooked
Yeah.
and get you involved in your
We
organization.
can get people hooked in this group.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
It's fun.
It's going to be a great time working with you. I think that there's
I'm excited.
lot of stuff we can do. We've got a lot of initiatives. We've got a lot of irons in the fire. I think it's a question of just keeping it going and just
Yeah.
keeping the pace going.
Yeah, y'all do a great job. We're just grateful for, I think everyone at NAC, I feel very comfortable saying we're so grateful that you all are as thorough as we need, as we need you to be, because we sure are trying to keep our head above water.
We always say we don't exist. The only reason we exist is to help you guys out. And,
I
and to
really think
provide that
ACC
cover. That's why we are here.
ACC does a better job of federations
Yeah.
than any other association I know of in the country.
Yeah.
I just think our relationship is great, and it just works. It's cohesive, and we trust each other, and we share, and it's not siloed.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important.
Fantastic.
And y'all aren't siloed. So.
Yeah, and that is really important. Well, Casey, thank you for coming
Thank
on.
you. Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it.
Appreciate
and,
you.
And again, look forward to Casey taking over NAC president at our annual convention and legislative summit coming up in the spring. And thank you again for, hopefully spring comes faster. I'm tired of winter. I'm tired of winter.
It's 30 degrees outside right now.
This is actually
please
this
come
feels
back in
like
May.
this feels like summer compared to how it was like a week ago. But anyway, this has been Engineering Influence, a podcast from American Council of Engineering Companies, and we'll see you next time.